Well, we're going to spend some time talking about diabetes, and so let me begin by asking, first of all, do you have diabetes?
Yes.
Okay, and how long have you had it?
I know I've known it at least for over 20 years.
Okay.
That I've had it.
And do you take medicine? Or?
Yes, I take a pill twice a day.
No insulin, no?
No insulin.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful to know. So you're the first person today I've talked to that has diabetes. In your own words, would you just describe diabetes for me?
Okay, to me, diabetes is a disease that can attack your body if you don't properly take care of yourself. In the past, I always thought it was caused because you ate too much sugar, but since then I have learned different, and I've dealt with diabetes for years because my mom was a diabetic. I have about 5 sisters and 2 brothers that's diabetics, and you know, it's just a disease you don't play with. It's one you can control, you know, but you have to work hard at doing it, and once you get yourself on a program and stick to it, you know, it's kind of easy to deal with, you know. But you have to take care of yourself and do the right things.
So how do you take care of yourself?
I haven't always done that, but now I've started exercising more, and I've started eating different. Not necessarily giving up all of my food, but I've started eating smaller portions, where before I would go out and get that Sonic burger, big burger, and eat it all. I cut it in half. I eat 3 meals a day and do the snacks, at least 2 or 3 snacks a day. I've cut down on the fried food a lot, and my biggest accomplishment for me is cutting down on my salt and my Pepsis, because I drink Pepsi like water. I have learned that I have to do the 3 meals and do the snack, because when I don't, my body will let me know that I need it. Now the exercise is not every day, but I do get in some during the week, and I do a lot of walking anyway, so I just consider that as exercising. And with the food, I didn't cut out totally sweets, but I cut down. Now if I want that chocolate bar, I can do without it. I might go without it today and get it tomorrow. And I found out that really helped when because I found out eating the right food, but eating too much of it wasn't still helping. So I had to start measuring some of my food, like my cereal every morning. Instead of doing a great big bowl, I do maybe about a cup of cereal and a cup of milk. And it really helps.
So you're keeping your blood sugars under control.
Right. Now there have been a few occasions just this year alone where I had some stressful situation and I ate a little too much or did too much, and it went up a little higher. But my last report, I had to do the blood work. It was down to a 4, which was fantastic for me. But I have been keeping it under control and so forth. I'm trying to keep it where I don't have to go on insulin. That's the last resort.
Trying to avoid that.
Right.
Okay. What do you think causes diabetes?
Like I said, in the past I thought it was eating too much sugar, but doing some reading and understanding a little better, I found out that it has to do with your natural insulin in your body, where it either produced too much or not enough. And that's what I think causing it, and it can really get aggravated if you don't take notice and go to the doctor and get checked out and do what you are supposed to do. It can get worse.
So how often do you go to the doctor?
Every 3 months.
Do you? Okay, so you're pretty faithful in that
Right.
thing. Have you always done that, or just in the...
Yes, ever since I've been diagnosed. At first I was diagnosed as being on the borderline, but I still went every 3 months, and I was living in the D.C. area when I was first diagnosed, and since I've been back here, I've kept that up, where I go back, I get blood work, and get tested every three months.
Mm-hmm. And were you born here?
Yes, I was born.
But you went away to work?
Yeah, I went away to work. I worked for about 34 years. When I retired, I moved back. This is where I always wanted to be.
And is the rest of your family here, your extended family?
Now, my two sons still lives in D.C. area. That's their home. They're grown. Mm-hmm. I have a couple of brothers and a sister still living here, mm-hmm. and some, cousins and aunts.
Mm-hmm. This is where you grew up.
Right.
Do you think there are risk factors for diabetes in the community?
Yes. You say in the community?
I mean Winston County.
Right. Some of the risk factors, I believe there's some, as far as the obesity, and especially what I see in some children and a lot of adults. I know that can be one cause of diabetes. We as, I'm going to go as far as say, we as parents, so as grown-ups, we don't have a way of doing things for ourselves, so we're not teaching our children what to do. And that there is some risk, but I can't really say that there is a great big risk, but I think there is some mm-hmm. risk of diabetes
mm-hmm.
here.
Do you see much obesity here in the county?
I can say yes, I have, and the majority of it I've seen has been in kids, and that includes my family also. Mm-hmm. There is quite a bit of it around.
And what do you think is causing all that obesity in the children?
Eating like their parents, fast food, mm-hmm. instead of cooking a decent meal or eating too much. They have the freedom just to go in the kitchen or refrigerator and get what they want, and and nobody stops them. And that's my opinion mm-hmm. of it. And I say that because judging from my family, I have some nieces and nephews here, and I really have had to be watchful because they are so used to just going in and getting, and I had to stop buying all the candy that they were used to Aunt Jean having in the house. And I tried not to go to McDonald's and Sonic's too much, but it's a big habit, and that's basically it. They are eating the way that their parents eat.
So, if you think back to when you were a little girl, how did you eat then?
Very different than what I do now, because my mom had a home-cooked meal every day, and we ate a lot of vegetables. Now, it would cook with a lot of the fat backs and stuff like that, but we had 3 meals a day that was home-cooked, where now I run to McDonald's or Sonic's or Wendy's or something like that real quick because I don't like to cook. Mm-hmm. But I've had to change that habit at home. When my conscience really get to bother me, I will go in and use what I have in the kitchen. I stopped frying my chicken wings. I love fried chicken wings, and start baking them. And when I want that burger, I will go in and fix a salad sometime, because I know I have to eat whether I'm hungry or not. Mm-hmm. And I've learned not to overdo that and listen for when I need to eat. I do a salad or do a fruit, and on those days I'm doing good. But there are some days that I just want to just eat burgers, drink Pepsi. But you have to learn to have self-discipline. Mm-hmm. And I'm still in the learning process.
I think we're all there.
Right.
I'm not sure that ever really ends, does it? Do you think that family plays an important role, or any role, in managing your diabetes?
Yes, I do. Because if you living in a household with family, they need to understand what diabetes is all about. And since you need to change your lifestyle, that means they will have to change theirs too. And it need to be at a point where they won't make you feel guilty for doing so. And teach them and tell them the risk and what you are going through, and make them understand that by changing their way of doing things, it's helping you and also helping them. You definitely need the support of your family. You just can't do it by yourself, because if you're sitting there trying to eat those 3 good meals a day and they're coming in with all the stuff you shouldn't have at that time, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard for you to stay on track. And you need to get them to understand that you're not doing this just to be mean, but it is something you have to do, mm-hmm. and that you need to do. And because when I was first diagnosed, my husband at the time was a vegetarian, and that way he was pretty helpful. But then the problem came in with me trying to change my kids' way of eating. Mm-hmm. So I had to work out a way where I had to just not completely stop them, because they was used to it, but I had to add in the good stuff as well as letting them go, mm-hmm. Out to the fast food every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And then when they start working in the fast food, we had to work on it. And even now, when I visit, they are grown and they know I'm a diabetic. And if I ask them to buy me some Pepsi, you don't need it, Mama, so they don't buy it. And if I tell them to buy things they know I don't need, and if they know I'm not going to eat it all at one time, they will. And they have the food they know that I need. And actually now they're eating better than I do. They have learned to cut out the sodas. They won't buy them from me when I'm there. They buy I've used the artificial sweetening. They have that for me. So it helps when I go visit. I don't feel bad that I have to ask them to do this. They already know to do this. And that's the same way if you're living in a household day by day with somebody. They need to understand that you have to do this, and not sit and stress you out and make you feel guilty because you have this and they don't. And my problems with my family is the elder members. You can tell them, but they're not understanding. They're so used to cooking and you eating a big old plate full. When you try to tell them, you can't do that. You just have to really get firm with them. And once they stop and listen to you, then they don't bother me too much. But I have to tell them every time I visit.
When you have, do you have family reunion?
Yes.
All right, what's that like?
Now, when we have family reunion, like I said, I have about at least about 4 or 5 sisters and 2 brothers that's diabetic. So we have to get food. We have a fish fry on a Friday night. We do both. We fry some fish and cook some on the grill. We have the salads, and it get to be real tempting, because then you might have one grill going with the ribs, and you got to limit yourself. You got one pot over here with baked beans in it, It can get to be real limiting, but what we've learned that when we get our plate, we just get a small portion what's on there. And somebody gonna say, oh girl, you on a diet, you don't need to lose weight. I just don't pay it any attention. I just, might make whatever comment is on my mind at the time. I just might make it and just keep on going, because I know I have to do this. Now I have a couple of sisters that I'm working with now. They like to eat the right food at times, but they like to eat too much. And I keep telling them, eating the right food, but eating the wrong amount is still just as harmful. Mm-hmm. And
now, so what happens with the family reunion after you all get done eating? Then do you get out and do some exercise or activity?
Now we have, it's usually a weekend thing. And we have that Saturday morning, we all go visit our parents' grave, and it's near our church, which is about 3 miles away from where I live. And we walk that every Saturday when they're there. We walk from the church to the cemetery and back. And so that's what we consider as part of our exercise. And I have some sisters who walks, it's just a part of their life. If we don't go to the cemetery, we get up and they make us walk. You know? And I have my brother that lives across the road from me. He walks every day. And he gets on me. Some days he gets me out, but most of I don't walk as far as he walks. Most of the time I just walk so maybe about 30 minutes around my house, or I might walk a mile up the road, but he's doing 5 to 6 miles, you know, per day. I'm not there yet.
When you were going back again to when you were a child, how much walking did you do then?
For exercise, I have to say we didn't do it, but because the walking came in because my mom and my grandparents or great-grandparents lived about a mile or so apart, and we walked from house to house. But it was never done with the idea we was doing it for exercise. And so we played a lot of ball, so we did a lot of running that way. It was never set up in our household just to do exercise health-wise. You know, it's just something that we did natural back then. We didn't say I'm gonna walk a mile just to be walking, but we might walk. We lived about, say, 5 miles from a town here, and we had relatives live here. Sometimes we would walk up here. I could walk better then than I can now. But it was never done as health reasons.
Right.
Just something we did because of transportation. If parents wasn't around, we wanted to go, we had to walk.
And so the automobiles are kind of causing us not to do those kinds of things anymore.
Yes.
So what are the young people doing in the community? What do you see them doing these days?
Well, to be honestly, I haven't really, I'm not in contact with young people on a regular basis every day because of where I live. But some of the parents that I know, they are changing their lifestyle, like Janice, you know. I know with her family, she is making some changes with them, not only just her children, but their children also. But I still see a lot of kids in the fast food places, you know. And I know they're not gonna go out of business, but I still see. But kids these days just don't think anything gonna happen to them, and it's not too much that you can tell them to convince that, you know. And no matter how you raise them, once they get that mindset, they're gonna have to be proven wrong. And to be honestly, right now we're trying to get the message out to them, but I really can't say whether it's working.
So let's talk about that just a second. How do we get the message out? What would you suggest?
Well, I can suggest keep having the classes, you know, keep making announcement, you know, in the paper, or especially if we can get the message over the TV, you know, not just to advertise to buy a meter or something, but they need to let people know exactly what diabetes can do for you. And radio and TV are two things I know that young people listen to. You know, now I can't say they're gonna pick up a newspaper every day and read it, but I think if we could find a way to get that message across to them, you know, they would take notice. You know, and then if we can, as parents, start teaching them, especially if you're diabetic yourself. You need to learn everything that you can in order for you to teach your family. And if there's a diabetic class somewhere, take them with you. Because you don't have to be a diabetic to attend these classes, because they need to understand what to do for you and how to help you also.
Do you think there's a role that churches could play?
I think so.
What kind of suggestions would you have?
I think if the churches could form some type of, or I would say committee or some type of group that can just work on getting this information out to not just young people but to everybody. You know, if they just learn to work together. It's sad to say, but you got a lot of churches, but there are some churches just don't work together. You know, the people. But if we can get that group to work together and get them to understand what the need is, I think we could get the message out that way. You know, it could be part of the Sunday service or something on the bulletin board or, you know, through the program. I think they could help.
Could I get you involved with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now I have you on tape saying that.
Okay, yes. Because I have to be honest, just within the last, say, 4 years, I really got serious on what I need to do. Because when I moved back in 2003, my mom was living. She was a diabetic. And I sat and I watched her. She lost a toe because of diabetes. She actually died from complication of being a diabetic. And she lost complete eyesight in one eye and was losing the sight in the other one. And she had congestive heart failure due to diabetes. And I keep telling myself, she was, in a way, she was lucky than a lot of folks, but she still went through a lot. And I should be the best person in the world after watching her and take care of her and listening to her doctor. But for some reason, I guess I just kept telling myself that that's not going to happen to me. But within the last 3 or 4 years, I started getting a little bit more serious. I even went to a nutrition to try to get me on the right track. And it plays with your mind, you know, and it makes you go through a stage of depression. And I think sometimes you have to go through that in order to come out and be able to do what you need to do. Because now I know with my mom ignored herself because she was taking care of us. It's just basically after we got almost grown is when she was really made to start paying attention. And I know back then when she was diagnosed, they didn't know a whole lot about it. You know, they didn't think too much about it. They just figured if you stop eating sugar, things would be okay. But, you know, and she ignored herself, and eventually she had to start taking insulin. But when she started that, my dad did make sure that she did that on time. And she had that's one thing she did do right. She didn't like the pills, but she took her insulin and checked herself at, you know, her blood glucose, her sugar level every day. You know. And when she finally got the point that she needed to do this, she started doing it. But she also knew she had waited a little too late to get everything else under control.
So starting early is important.
But she lived to be 80, so.
Well, that's a good nice age, isn't it? Well, I think that's all the questions I have. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you want to share?
No, my basis with being diabetic, you have to learn to get yourself on a schedule. You have to work hard to keep it under control. You can control it if you work to do so. But it's not an easy thing to do, you know, and you need the support of family and friends. Talk to somebody, because I went to a class not too long ago, and we have started forming a team some lady from my community. We've in the talking stage now, getting together and start walking and giving each other support. And I would say to family members and the diabetic, you need that support. Talk to your family, explain to them, and just let them know what's going on. Don't hold it in, because that stress can do more harm than anything.